go back to 1969. You're in 5th grade, and I think it might have been
a real memory of the year I was born.
That's true. You're doing this.
If we remember the day we were born, it would be quite traumatizing.
It would be. But this medallion is not your first prize. I think you were recognized for your work in the Velveteen Rabbit in 5th grade. What was you were? So it says.
What did I receive for the Velveteen Rabbit?
I didn't see the award. I didn't see the production, but apparently you were quite good in the Velveteen Rabbit.
I think it was legendary. I played the boy.
And very well.
Yeah, and I was wearing pajamas the entire time.
Is that part of the costume, or they just didn't have money?
I think it was a Hugh Hefner choice I made. I think I probably gave myself a personal name, but the script referred to me as the boy in that song.
Okay. I'm going to skip ahead to 1987. You are a prospective student at Bennington College, and you meet a current freshman, and his name is Jonathan Mark Sherman. And Sherman becomes one of your best friends and greatest collaborators, and he introduces you to the woman who is the reason why we're here tonight. That's Erica Schmidt, who created Sherman.
You jumped ahead from... You jumped ahead.
We're going to let you fill in that.
You jumped ahead
from 87 to where we are today.
When I was 17 to much later.
We're going to fill in the gaps.
But we don't need to.
We're going to.
Because if your tongues should be a blur, right?
So I'm going to ask you about Sherm and how important it was to find a collaborator and a fellow traveler so early in your college experience, and how you worked together and what his work meant to you and what your work meant to him.
Well, we're nothing without each other, and I went to Bennington College in Vermont, which is a very small... I sort of felt that I knew from an early age, growing up in New Jersey, that I was going to spend the rest of... More in New Jersey than Vermont is. Let's not bring up that old rivalry, shall we? The New Jersey-Vermont war. It's Jersey. No, I mean, we're nothing without each other, and I think maybe Jonathan was from New Jersey, so we had a kindred spirit there. He was a writer. I thought I was a writer. I always wanted to be a writer, but then you meet writers who can really, really write, and you realize, maybe I'll just act in your place, and I'll start writing. Painters can paint by themselves, actors can do nothing by themselves. We can stand in front of a mirror and do things, monologuing, but we can't really do anything. A friend of mine in college actually said, it would be so much fun if we could just sort of do that, but we can't. We're dependent on writers and directors to hold our hand, because we're really big fat babies. We're told where to go, when to eat, what to wear. What's the difference between us and big fat babies? Not much. They pick us up and bring us places we've never been before, and then they take us back. We meet friends. It's like camp. We meet friends. Sometimes we stay in touch. Most of the times we don't. We're nothing without our collaborators, and I would like to think directors and writers are nothing without us. Yes, so Jonathan was he's still the closest friend, and you just get lucky. Whatever is going on with you that sparks a commonality with these people who are more talented than yourself, and they make you better, and you just start that path with everybody that inspires you. That's, Now I'm working with directors who are younger than me, and that's the weird thing, because they inspire me just as much.
I'm going to go back to Bennington because you returned to school in 2012 and you give a commencement speech that NPR calls one of the best graduation speeches ever. We know public radio is fake news, but I'll trust him on this.
That Terry Gross,
man.
Oh, man.
But here's what you said, and everybody should look the speech up because it is beautiful. You said, when I was 29, I told myself the next acting job I get, no matter what it pays, I will from now on, for better or worse, be a working actor. So I quit my position at the Professional Examination Services, and now I didn't have either the internet or a cell phone or a job. But something good happened. I got a job in a play called In Perfect Love, which led to a film called 13 Moons with the same writer, which led to other roles, and I've worked as an actor ever since.
It's a leap of faith, yeah. I mean, Living in Oblivion, that first clip, that was my first movie. But back then, I didn't know, it was just sort of a more of a mess back then. Everybody thinks your first movie, that's it. And the world TV wasn't what it is. Every actor is working now, today, hopefully. And thank God for television, because writers are now gravitating towards that because they have more control of the material. But we didn't have that back then. I'm talking about the 90s, like it was like the 50s, but we just didn't have it. And just because you did a movie doesn't mean anything, especially for someone like me, who I thought that was it. And so I go back to my day jobs and pay the rent because New York City was expensive. You had to hold on to that idea of like, and I never wanted to do anything I wasn't proud of. So yeah, I did that play, and then it led to other things.
You said at the speech you were 29, and you're working at a company called Professional Examination Services. So you have probably been auditioning, maybe have not.
I've never auditioned.
So what was
happening? And this isn't bragging. Living in Oblivion was the only audition I ever had.
So what was happening in those intervening years?
It's in weird ways, it's kind of easier for me. Hard but easier.
What was happening in those intervening years? Because you said at 29 you became a working actor. Were you just taking day jobs? How were you staying focused on the career that you wanted to have?
I don't know. No idea. Even in hindsight, I have no idea. I think Steve Soderbergh said perseverance plus talent equals luck, which I think is a brilliant formula. Because there's no such thing. One doesn't exist independent of another, and luck is so abstract. But I really do think that everybody who's working a lot, it's because of that formula. They're good people who are really good at what they do, and they work really hard. And the people who don't do that, you don't hear about them anymore. You know, truly. I mean, and you just have to behave yourself and be part of the collaboration.
I want to ask about Living in Bolivia. Your character, Tito, as we saw in the clip, is badging the director, played by Stevie Singing, about why he casted a dwarf. It's funny, but it's also kind of meta. Because the real director of the film, Tommy Shalhoub, did in fact cast you as a dwarf. And it's something I've really wrestled with, and I think other people might have thought about this in watching the clips. Because even in this station age, in the first few minutes, there are a number of people who insult your character. So at what point do you say, as an actor, what are the rules? How am I going to be playing a character who's going to be judged by his appearance, and at what point is it just me who is the actor and not the person whose size I represent?
It's all about the good writing and how it's addressed. And with Living in Oblivion, it's sort of like a good intro into what I've always felt. And like I got to voice it a bit. Anger or whatever it was, I feel like he sort of wrote what I was feeling about. And I love David Lynch. I love David Lynch so much. But I think a lot of what Tom was pulled out was because of the Twin Peaks thing with Michael Anderson, who played the man from another land, or whatever that character is called. which is beautiful, but you know, it's a comedy, so you can take the piss out of it, and even if we admire it, we're allowed to take the piss out of it, and that's our prerogative to do that. And I don't know. I think you have to sort of clear the air to make people comfortable. Like it's okay to laugh at me, with me, my rage, my whatever, or the characters' rage or humor about it, and then we can move forward. Not that I'm some sort of pioneer, but I think it's important for all of us to sort of have a sense of humor about it, and then we can open the discussion. My problem is sometimes people aren't allowing that in, and therefore nobody knows how their way into it.
I want to ask you about the station agent, because Tom McCarthy, who wrote and directed it, believed in you as a leading man, and you said the process of making the station agent with Tom reminded you of how a great theater company, you mentioned Steppenwolf, works collaboratively. So what did that process mean to you as a partner in creating it and as an actor? Why was that movie, it's obviously a great film, but why was it important to you as an actor who's working with a filmmaker?
Well, much like Cyrano, I think all great movies, you think it's really fun to be a part of at least, have a long gestation period. And that station agent, we had readings for years in apartments or wherever we wanted to have our readings, and Tom would go back and rewrite everything based on suggestions, but then he would just make up his own mind about it all. But it took a long time. Again, it was back in the day when a streamer could have purchased that in a heartbeat and we could have done wherever, but it was the time of that independent film world of going to Sundance and not knowing what the hell people were going to think of it. But we put our heart and soul into it, and it paid off. With good things.
I want to skip ahead to
Was that it? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does.
I don't think it did.
Well, maybe I'll ask it again in a moment. I'm going to skip ahead to 2011, and that's when you performed the voice of Captain Gut in Scrat's Continental Crack-Up Part 2.
I didn't see that coming.
But something else happens that year, and that is you have a conversation with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss about a show they're planning called Game of Thrones. So we'll set aside Scrat's Continental Crack-Up
That was the
Part 2.
same year with Captain
Same year. And you apparently told them something like this: no beard, no pointy shoes, a romantic, real human being. So maybe the beard thing you relented on eventually, but what was important about what you wanted that character to be and not be?
All right. The beard is just what's followed that fantasy genre with people my size who aren't actual people. They're magical. And once you cast real actors in the part, it's no longer that. It has to be, for me to play it, it has to have, they have to want to have sex. They want to like zero in on whoever they're attracted to, like a human being. Like I can't play magic in terms of like that abstract sort of nondescript, what are you playing as an actor? So I just was lifting from the great J.R.R. Tolkien, who created this incredible universe, but why do we always have to follow that boring fucking formula of pointy shoes and a beard? Who invented that? Why are we still following that? And we don't need you. So I said that to them. If I'm going to play this part, and I didn't know anything about Tyrion at all. I didn't read the books or anything. So I sort of didn't know. I was just being an asshole. I didn't know what was in store. Like they were already way past that. They're like, all right, yeah, we got this. Because that character's not that. But I just needed to lay that groundwork as an asshole actor.
But how does a series like that change you as an actor? Because you are working really hard, for a long period of time. You're working with other great actors. What do you take away from a series like that professionally, and how you grew as a performer in the making of that series?
Well, I think what TV is it? What do you call it? Streaming? HBO? I don't know. TV sounds like it's not coming in. Get the rap ears. It's not. I watch TV at my grandma's. It's not TV anymore. It makes you it's not precious. Actors can be so precious. And when you have to work, when you have to learn lines, and I talked a fuckload in that show, when you just have to churn it out, like editors do, and everybody else in the movie business do, grips, gaffers, it's their fucking job. You go in day in and day out. Actors sometimes, I love actors, when you do a movie, it's so precious, and the moment has to be just right, and there's so little time to get it just right. When you do 10 years on a TV show, fuck you, that goes out the window. There's no time for that. But in that, it's like somebody who builds houses. Every house is better. And you just throw that all away, and you lean, I hate lean into, it's such an LA term. You lean into the text, and you let, if you're lucky enough to have great writers, like Dan and Dave, Erica, and the good ones out there, you just trust that, and you just tell the story. You don't precious anymore. And you don't take up anybody's time. No, but seriously, some actors walk out of the room and suddenly you have to you have to allot some time for them. And we come in the ninth inning, when so much hard work has been put into place and everybody has to go, okay. But with TV, we're all in the same sporting event, and we're all, and it's like this, and it's great.
Before we talk about
and it's just, and that, I feel like that actors are now working a lot in TV and have an understanding of that now. And it's like the old studio system days when they were doing the same thing. And I love those movies from back then, and the old BBC shows, and it's just, it helps. It's really great for an actor. For me, it was like school without the indulgence.
very quick last question. We'll have Joe come up and introduce Cyrano. I want to talk about Estuary Films, which is your production company. It worked on My Dinner with Hervé, and I think We're Alone Now. And you said of your production company, it's like the difference between making dinner and serving it to friends or going out for a meal. Going out is great, but watching your friends enjoy something you've made is so gratifying. What are the kinds of things you want to make? Are those films representative of that? And what are your ambitions as a producer going forward?
Yeah, the older you get, if you're lucky enough to work with great writers and directors, you want to see their vision through and take a back seat. And that's what I want to do with my company. And you start off acting in them, perhaps because of Game of Thrones and sort of putting a hood ornament on it as an actor, but then you slowly go, reel it back and hide behind the curtain. And the older I get, and I have children, and when you're an actor, you go places far away and for long periods of time, and producers get to sit at home. Sometimes, unless they're God feeling, and sort of launch things into the ether.
Peter, I want to thank you for sharing your work and your time.